Hello, everyone, and welcome you to this webinar brought to you by the Soltesz Institute. My name is Viktoria Soltesz. I'm the founder of the Institute, and we are fighting for an ethical, transparent, and more understandable industry. When it comes to payments and banking, we have a serious lack of education. However, payments and banking affects every area of your organization today. As you know, it affects how your customers like to check out, what is the customer experience, what is the data security, how the data is being handled, technological connectivity, integrations, and so much more. But somehow we still don't really talk about payments and banking as much as we should. So our journey here with the Soltesz Institute is to bring you the latest innovations and, of course, the payment and banking industry experts who are guiding us through their journey, sharing their experience with us. So today, it's a very, very interesting subject, which is all about smarter decision-making in payments, banking, and fintech. And I have my guest join me today. I'm very honored because she's got a lot of experience on not just the technology and the regulatory side of the business, but also on the human element. Welcome you here, Jutta, and thank you very much for joining us today. Please tell us a bit more about your journey. How did you end up in payments, and what exactly your role is today in this industry?
Hi, Victoria. Thank you very much for this wonderful professional discussion. I'm pleased to be here. Well, I will begin probably from my first personal experience with the payment was in 2012 when I was working as a financial analyst in the stock market, and I had to deal with investments every day, a couple of times a day. And that was my basically first experience with the fintech and any kind of payments. Later on, I had to face it more from the business-wise because I started more going to the business organizational part of fintech. And then I had to actually organize it myself and set up the payments and connect to the bank and check the regulation and check that everything worked with the compliance that fit the regulation and things like that. And the highest point of my experience that probably bring me not only to fintech, it bring me more to the security and the business security. It's my work as a security, I would say, agent, or we say officer, that was spread a bit more than the fintech. It was spread to the logistic and to IT general industry. But yes, today I would call myself more like independent specialist in that field.
And it's so interesting that you're coming from the user perspective. You were the one who was using all of those fintech innovations and banking and payment tools. And it's really interesting to see your perspective of what are the problems, the challenges, the human element, and everything which is relating to payments and banking. So I'm just very curious about to hear your opinion about certain subjects. As usual, we have a couple of questions that the audience sent us before the webinar. That's what you would like to know more about. So that's what we are discussing here today with Jutta. And these questions are giving a really nice skeleton to everything, just really guiding us through the webinar to understand the flow of the conversation. So let's jump in. But if you would like to have any kind of other questions or comments, please do share your ideas, your questions, your comments with us, and we are doing our best to reply on those. So the first question is, what drives risky decisions in companies, and how can they be recognized early? And I think here what we really would like to understand from your perspective, that how do you evaluate the risk, and what would you say that what are those risky decisions which are taking place in a company?
Risky decisions, I would say it's a lack of patience that brings to crossing the borders, crossing the line of legality sometimes. We're talking about unfinished compliance. We're talking about quick setup for some payment methods that we're not even sure that we're going to end up receiving those funds, or our clients the opposite way. And the risk actually is quite high. The risk is to from losing the time, and the time is money on the financial market and generally in every business, and losing the license, losing workers, losing clients, and be even shut down.
We have a lot of companies who are in the startup phase, and what I usually hear is that just fine, just don't overcomplicate things, guys. Just get the MVP out, and as long as we've got subscribers or clients, then we made it, then we can raise the funds, and that's when we are in the good position. But oftentimes when we are talking about startups, we need to see the future of those startups as well, right? We need to see that how that startup becomes scale up. What happens if they suddenly go viral and they have 10,000 clicks a minute on their checkout page? How their system will be able to handle that volume? Or even when they are going to new markets, maybe the marketing is in place and the sales are in place and the clients are on the website and clicking and trying to buy things, but you don't have the local methods or you don't have the relevant payment rails to accept those client funds. You will not even finish as a startup. You just fail even before that. So it's very interesting to see that what is the risk that you're willing to take just to be quicker and faster and getting on the market versus what is good for you on the long term, right? So I'm sure that this is something that you have seen as well when owners are getting a bit too excited. They just want to cut corners. And they just like kicking down the problem can on the way to deal with that a couple of years later. But sooner or later, the problems are going to arise, no?
I would say that it's a common problem. That's true. And in this industry, it's all remind a little bit Formula One. Everybody start as fast as possible and they think that's how you're going to finish. But that's not the issue. We are not on the race. We are more like preparing for the space ship. Like it's a lot of preparation. It's a lot of kind of boring things to do, a lot of payments to pay for legalization, for things that doesn't seem to look like so necessary in the beginning, like you can do it later on. But a better you're set up at the start, bigger you grow. Even you never thought you will get to that level, you sometimes really, it just happened. Or you get a couple of clients, or you get like very good revenues and your company grows. So you better prepare for big and think big from the beginning, even if you will end up yourself as small or a middle in your industry. But your tools have to be highly professional set up, that's for sure. And it started from every department, for sure, the payment methods and regulation. Start small, but start regulated. Start work with some banks, but you know that you have a good cooperation with them. Don't spread yourself for every possible way to receive the money, for example. And then you see that too many systems, it's also a problem. It's not too many options. Make like 3 options that work perfectly, and you'll get much better results.
The next question is really about the non-standard approaches, and I'm so curious about what you have to say about that. How can non-standard approaches uncover hidden risks or opportunities that no one else noticed? What are these non-standard approaches and why are they not standard in the first place?
I would say not standard is because we are talking about higher experience and people from another industry, I would call it. When you a little bit step out of the box, and I give a small example, like you think you can set up things by yourself and you can be yourself financial organizer. You can connect the bank, the payment method, the exchange. You can set up the compliance team, like you can do all yourself. And maybe you can do it, that's right. But you don't know what kind of difficulties you're going to face in a month or half year or a year. So if you take a specialist that set up, for example, much bigger company, a work in the banking industry, for example, or tax authorities, and have experience with a bigger problem, then you save from yourself a small difficulties and obstacles that you might face if you set up by yourself. From the human perspective, I would say don't recruit people by yourself because you don't really know what kind of people come to work with you. You don't even know with which purpose they come to work with you. Hire specialists that able to make some kind of human testing, and there's a lot of things in human engineering these days that we can use to see ahead what this person can bring to us and to our business in the future. And if we can count on that person for the higher position, or we better keep him as a low position person doing very simple tasks. I don't have much approach to security or the client base or the client funds, for example.
It's a story of my life, but you mentioned that so many times, we've got like startup companies who think that they got it all figured out. Now they are living in the AI world. So everybody is ditching their lawyers and ditching their experts and try to find the answer through artificial intelligence, just to see that when it comes down to money and fun, then money got disappearing and bad providers got chosen. There is not enough due diligence and they don't really understand what are the implications if they are integrating one payment provider over another. So yes, we have a lot of clients who are coming to us just after realizing that, I should have done it correctly at the beginning. And unfortunately, there are a lot of cases when these companies are already losing a lot of money or their funds got blocked and they need a solution yesterday. Like, what are you going to do in case that your main bank account closes on you tomorrow? How are you going to maintain your business? There are clients who try to pay you, but you can't accept their funds, right? You've got payroll to process, but there is no bank account. You can't pay your salaries. Your employees are going to leave you. So there are so many hidden elements in this, exactly how you said, that you need to plan ahead for the future, and you really need to understand that how important is to get people who understand what they are doing, because it's going to be very, very costly later if you're not doing this. Let's get to the next question, because I think it relates to that as well. How a company can avoid a crisis by focusing not on the strategy or numbers. I mean, I'm a finance professional, of course, I'm always focusing on strategy and the numbers, but on the people behind them. And I think it's a very, very interesting question that not many people are asking, but it is the right question to ask. What do you think about this?
Well, first of all, you have to check these people before you start work with them or hire them. There is a very simple thing. So you can just ask a question, one test question. What we going to do if things go wrong? Most of the time, unprofessional people will say, "Is nothing can go wrong. So all good. Trust me." In this case, we definitely not gonna ever hire this person, because a person must have backup plan B, plan C. Every professional have it. No matter how good you set up, you must have yourself backup. And if you ask a smart question regarding to everything, what we're gonna do if that not gonna work, or if things go wrong, and you must get the answer. If you don't get the answer, move on. Look for another specialist.
What would your answer be? So if I'm asking you that, hey, Jutta, tell me what's happening if things go wrong? What happens if, I've got a company, I integrated a couple of payment solutions, I've got a couple of bank as well because I'm clever, I'm diversifying my risk. What am I going to do if things go wrong? And how do I know if things go wrong in the first place? Based on your experience, what are the things that you see?
Well, I think in this industry, you pretty much see when things go wrong. The feedback of things go wrong comes very quickly in fintech. It's not like we are doing some very old school industry that we might receive the feedback via post and or something from bank or from our client waiting for a couple of days. We see in the seconds when things go wrong. And for that, we have to know exactly a button that we press as soon as we see it. That's how the security works. We don't wait for robbers to come to our house and then think what we're gonna do. We have okay, it can happen. Then we see the robber. We hear some random noise. We know the button that we need to press. So we press it, and then we clarify what are the next step. And same, I used to work in aircraft industry as well. I would say it's exactly the same for the aircraft industry test and the security system. We don't wait for things to happen. We already have buttons and checkups for things that when a first sign comes, what we're doing to correct the situation as soon as possible. And then we obviously save us from catastrophe, because it's the difference between a little problem or a strategy or catastrophe. Not receiving the payment or not be able to pay to your workers, or your client cannot withdraw funds, that's catastrophe. That's not a little problem.
Yeah. What did you see a lot? You worked in fintech companies a lot, in investment firms. What was the number one problem that it was so obvious, but the management just ignored this? What was your experience with that, and how did you actually overcome that?
Two things. First is a payment system that hadn't been tested enough for or speed or certain countries or certain amounts. It's all about the setup for payments. That's the first thing. The second thing is the people. It's the human factors that people steal your data, steal your clients, pass it to competitors, or work directly with your clients, or just put virus into your company, not from outside, for paying your IT person a little bit more than you pay as a salary.
Wow. So you think that the human element can be even more damaging than the technology itself, yet no one actually talks about it. What do you think? What can someone do to overcome that and actually think ahead before that human problem is even taking place? What can we do to avoid that?
But I would say that we are living in a parallel world these days. Like, we should not forget about technology risks, and we should work parallel. As much as I put all the protection system for my computers and the company, same way I don't forget that those systems are controlled by people. So I'm choosing the people as a human factor through the correct HR. HR know the test. We know how to communicate with each person, even the person that looks to us not important in the company, not connected to financial department, for example. But this person have eyes and have ears, and also go outside. They can spread certain information. So we should really look at it like we are looking for our guests that come visit us in our home. We don't invite everyone, right? So a little bit more private, a little bit more human attitude as addition to a technological correct actions and checkups.
And I think the next question is really about the trust and safety, because it's asking that what fintech companies need to watch out for when it comes to trust and safety. Okay, so we filtered out the human element, but what happens when it comes down to technology? Do you diversify the access rights so only two people together can send money, and you're just hoping that those two people are not turning into bad actors all of a sudden? Or what are the other parts that you as a fintech company can implement to actually reduce the risks to the minimum?
Well, first of all, don't forget about compliance. This department actually made for us to slow down a little bit. They have pretty good checkups, and that's pretty much protect us from interaction between two people or two authorities, like B2B or something. I strictly on the side of law. I totally think that's created only for our benefits. And every time we try to skip it, again, for the matter of make it quicker or make it easier for a client. Maybe we don't know the source of funds, and we don't know sometimes nothing about our investor or a client. And we can spoil all our business by neglecting a very basic thing. So I would say compliance is the important thing. I would say keep a maximum regulated action from both sides. Like every person know and every company know when we are on the edge of breaking the rules or law or we are crossing it. So if we want to work happy and for a long term, that's what we should do.
It seems like that sales and compliance are always in war, right? Because sales want to bring in the people and they want to earn money and they say yes to everyone and they promise the moon and the stars just to get the business in. But at the same time, the compliance is there to defend the business from making mistakes and onboard all of those bad actors. What do you think? How we can ease this war between sales and compliance? How can we be sure that compliance is not working against us? I am not paying someone to block business for me, because oftentimes I hear this complaint that compliance is just a built-in a business blocker, and unfortunately I have to pay someone to block business from me. What do you think? Where is that fine balance between sales and compliance, and how management can implement this fine balance somehow that it works in both ways?
Well, it's very simple. I would again go for the higher, more complicated industry. We have checkups. And that's what Fahnemann wrote in his book Noise, that we must have as much as possible checkups. And it's possible that the salespeople, before they start to do their sales, fulfill their target, and get their percentage, they go every morning through a basic checkups from the compliance team and explanation what can be if we are not follow the simple rules, and obviously get the penalty every time some salesperson not follow the basic rules of compliance or regulation. And from my experience, people follow it very nicely when it's hit their pocket, when it's just been as a drill, like in aircraft business. We don't count on people to remember. We put them together every time before flight and brainwash them for 1 hour or 1 hour and a half about all possible situations. Obviously, the captain lead it. And it's quite interesting that it's possible to control thousands of people doing the same thing in the correct way, not make them forget to do it, just by simple drill. So we can easily implement it into fintech business as well.
And it's all about education, right? Because what I feel like that today, the ones who are making decisions over payments and banking are not trained, because there is not that much of a training out there. I mean, usually finance department is making decisions on payments and banking issue, but even the basic stuff like what is SEPA, what is SWIFT, or what is open banking, or even the latest innovation of Fintech, or QR codes and open banking, these are only learned on the job. So what management can do to actually create an opportunity for those salespeople to go through compliance training, or make sure that compliance is really understanding why are they doing things, not just ticking the box and getting a utility bill. I don't care how does it look like, as long as I have it, that's what matters. So how we can put back again the common sense and the human element in the training part as well, when there is not that much of a training out there and everybody's learning on the job, right?
Well, I would say from my experience working with SISIC, we had kind of quite long test and the studying for our salespeople before they get on the job. They had to learn compliance. They had to pass exam from the compliance. And they had to learn how to speak to not break the rules of regulation. I mean, people obviously not so happy about it, but then you also, SISIC send examinators It's actual people that walk around and hear and see how you do things before you go, on the track. So I would say that's the correct way to do it. Teach them, make them course, make them pass exam, monitor them. If it's a call center, for example, or emails, just check it. Like, put some people to listen to conversations or check the way they write emails and things like it definitely have to be under control.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to education in payments and banking, because compliance training is obviously different because there is a regulator, there are clear-cut standards. But when it comes to payments and banking, like, for example, how you open different bank accounts, how you made decisions over on payments and banking, where did you learn all of that? And what would you say to someone who is now in the same position of working for a fintech company and trying to open different accounts and make decisions over different payments? Where to get this information and how to actually educate themselves on that? Because it's really much on the learning on the job, no?
Yes, definitely. And unfortunately, even the management don't provide enough tools. So me personally, I learned from experts that I had to pay my own funds to learn it. I'm not a fan, and I never advise learn from your experience, and especially not learning from the job when you're already on the job. So if, for example, your company don't provide you enough, so go and learn it, get yourself a course, listen, as like today, I think it's a lot of like free or slightly paid courses that you can learn. But for the business owner, I would say it's a big benefit when you invest a little bit time, invest a little bit money into your workers and make them financially educated, because that's the main thing. You can get yourself expert can, I'm sure, write a short program according to what company needs and what is their track, okay, how much they need to be educated. For example, we're talking about SEPA account and some additional exchange, a little bit crypto, a little bit neo-banking, the classical banking. Like, I would say it won't take more than 3-4 business days to explain people for a couple of hours. How does it work? It's not so complicated for users. I'm not talking about to create the system. I'm talking about to use it. And that would be enough.
Yes. And that's what I see as well, that a lot of times that there are so many tools and different solutions are out there. And somehow people are still a bit confused of what are the capabilities of that. And of course, you sign a contract and you've got a salesperson who's helping you. And all of a sudden, then, you become expert on that tool, but still you don't really understand the why. Why do we need to wait, for example, 3 days before the payment reaches the other part of the world, right? Or why we are using SEPA or SWIFT when we are sending payments, or how cards work from the get-go. So those are the parts that I think it's not really clear for a lot of people. And then at the end of the day, it comes down to your own pocket. Someone is handling your funds and your money, that as a bare minimum that you give all the opportunity for that person to actually learn and grow. But let's go back to the security, because the next question is really about what are the key red flags or blind spots business owners should pay attention to when it comes to business security. And now you're working in security. So I would love to hear your idea about what are the big problems today with the business security from financial aspect and other problems as well. And what business owners need to pay attention to if they want to run a successful business today.
I would say they should really cut off attitude of getting a person with a very nice CD, very nice look, very nice conversations, stuff would be so attracted to the external. I would say go a little bit, search, ask like other business owners about the person. I mean, in the industry where I work, we kind of had back then a blacklisted workers. And one time person do mistake, next time other companies simply don't recruit him, even he is a perfect. It's very important to keep your reputation. And I would say the red flag is that you don't check the reputation of the person. You just blindly take specialists because you think he can lift up your sales, for example, or can help you to organize quickly, or another issue, bring with him a team. That's a total disaster. A person that comes with a team is like triple or 10 times more danger than one person, because you really don't know who is this group. And we're dealing with the group is much harder than dealing with individuals. I would say best thing if we had some general resource, maybe closed, not open for everyone on the internet, that we can check people's reputation in certain industries as exist. I just put the name on and I can see all the bad things person did. It stays forever. We're talking about legality, immigration issues. We're talking about some private issues that haven't been so done correctly for a human, okay? And when I recruit the person, I see this history and I'm thinking, if I really need this fast result today, because the history always say a lot about the person.
Is there any privacy reasons not to be able to check those? Because if I try to hire someone, I won't be able to check that person's details to the dot if they were blacklisted from the industry. I mean, obviously, there are industry gossips and we are all hearing things in the industry, but it might not come down to the integrity of like actually being able to check that person. Or maybe it gives even opportunity for misjudgments because maybe the gossips are not that reliable. What do you think about that? How do you actually do your due diligence on a person? And where do you get that information from reliably?
Well, obviously, it's connected to the country. Like in Germany, for example, we have a law of data shoots, the protection of personal data, that are extremely strict for everything. And only not even the police have approached all the data. And then we have a big problem. Like we basically not only don't know, we're not even allowed to know. But I think the only solution is that you have always private security groups that work in certain countries that are able to keep, obviously, this is a totally private information. And it's not spreaded, and it's not going to be like by your demand. First, this group or organization check, why do you need this information? And you have also a scale. Like my last work was like, we had a scale. It was like red, yellow, and green. Very simple. But you can be a businessman, but you on the red scale. And this businessman might say, oh, what, but who knows it? Like, who actually create this scale? Okay, we create that scale, that it has to be 100% objective. We're talking about real actions. It cannot be gossip. It can be like you don't pay the salary. Practically, we see the documents. Okay, you did some crime in the past. It's a fact. Like these private issues mixed with the financial history, mixed with the behavior in the company, all of that together create the reputation of you. And these days, I think maybe only China have it fully and the world judge it. Like how come like everybody knows if they need everything about you, where you go. And Israel also go pretty much that way. Yeah. It's really depend on the country. It's really depend because in some countries, you have to go through authorities. Like you have permission to see those things as soon as you really need it. Okay, in some countries where you don't have much power of authorities or corrupted countries, like we're talking about ex-USSR countries, for example, you don't really trust authorities. You do the opposite. You must create all that from the real life stories of people who can just really, you can count on their words. But yes, I strongly believe that's an effective way. We have to know who is this person in front of us.
Yes, at the end of the day, the person is dealing with funds and money and making decisions over actually monetary values. So that's definitely important. And let's go back a bit more on the security aspect when it comes to technology. What do you think what are those red flags from the technological perspective that the business owners need to pay attention to at the beginning of the conversation, you mentioned that some businesses don't really test their tools when it comes to new payment methods or speed. But is there any other very obvious security misjudgments or issues that you see, which is very regular with different businesses, but we are just not really talking about it?
Well, first of all, we don't know who are the owners, and we see only the technical part, okay, from every payment system, every neobank, for example, every crypto exchange. We don't see who stands behind it. And that's create a problem because from my screen, it's all pretty much the same. I don't need to make a real regulation. I can just make in Photoshop same stamp and call myself regulated. So I would say a technical thing is that, first of all, you must hire some expert that able to check all the license, check if the payments need to be done in a certain way. So the specialist take and make these payments practically in his company, and then give you like audition, give you the whole list of possible actions with this, for example, payment method before you started to work with that. I would say it's like checkups, like highly professional checkups that can really help. I understand it won't be cheap. It costs time, and it costs something that you say, okay, I'll see it anyway when I'm doing it. Why would I pay? And it might even look a bit strange, like all this money testing, but that's very important. I must say, from the security side, the criminals, they always test a system before they start work on it. And the real businesses, clean businesses, prefer not to waste time on that. And we see that the criminal world developed much better, much faster. And I would even say they work more professionally than sometimes a clean, normal business organizations.
Yes, that's true, because someone told me that if you're a criminal, that's your lifestyle. Your life depends on it. But if you're working in compliance or you're just policing the status quo, that's your job. So you're not that heavily invested in the result when your skin is on the line, and you can go down in case that you're making any kind of mistake. So that's why, of course, the criminals are always ahead of us. I absolutely agree with you on that. Testing is just so underrated. We have a lot of cases when the client is just blindly integrating, even sending from day one huge amount of funds without even knowing what is the customer experience at the end, let alone understanding that how safe the funds are and how are they being handled or held. So these are exactly the type of problems that we need to talk about, because once you understand that what are the risks of every step that you do in payments and banking, that's when you start to ask those questions that, wait a minute, I just don't assume it's being done. I don't assume it's being done right, but I need to test it for myself. So I'm very glad that you actually mentioned that. But let's see the next question, which is a super interesting question, and I think we can talk about it for years after. What would you recommend to entrepreneurs who want to build a fintech business today? And tell me everything, all the experience, all the good, the bad, what you have in mind, because I'm so curious about your perspective. What do you think, how we can build a fintech enterprise today successfully?
Well, I would say find yourself with a group. Before you recruit people, you must have a partners. And the partners is not always your business partners. It can be people experts that stay with you through whole the process, from the starting your business, planning it, and through all the way. Like, they don't just take money for consultation and then you never see them again. Or they take money for project or to set up and then they move to thousands of other clients. Go for loyal people that care about who are their clients. They don't jump for the payments, they jump for cooperation. That's first of all, because fintech, unfortunately, lacking a quality, good people. fintech full of very fast setups, full of scam, full of unreliable people, full of, I would say, people that want you to crush, because as soon as you crush, you will need them again. So they make double payment for themselves. And you will never understand that this mistake actually happened from their side. They did it on purpose for you to fall and come to them again. That's a very dangerous point. And as much as you have those people, it can be law side, the human side, a fintech side, a technical side, a marketing side. But you must know who are with you in your boat, with who you are going to this ocean of business, with very competitive business where nobody really wants you to succeed. Like, you really go to the sea with sharks. Fintech is not easy business. And I would recommend to everyone who look only on the numbers of fintech, how much money you can make out of that. Also look at how many people been eaten by sharks. And today they are on the bottom of the sea and nobody even know they ever existed.
Would you personally open a fintech company?
Or
did. You just go e-commerce? Because it's just so complex as you say it, that what happened when you opened it?
For first 5-6 years, I was thinking every day I come back home, I would never ever deal with that. But then when you learn from mistakes of other people that actually create you that attitude, you have to solve the problems all the time, you have to set up for them something, not from the beginning, deal with endless issues, then you understand. But wait a second, that's not industry. This is their unsmart solution, and that's their unsmart approach to things. I can do it better. I can do all correct from the beginning, see how big are my teeth now, how much I'm ready to face that ocean and sharks and stuff, and go into the little swim. I would say it took me years. I had my startup in 2022, just before the war started in Ukraine. And that was my big jump. I did it with no fears. I knew exactly what I'm doing. My partner was not from the fintech. He was from IT world and had no idea what is fintech. So he had very easy attitude toward the payments, toward legality, and toward any kind of regulation from the beginning, and we split. So if I have my next fintech project, definitely it's going to be with a person from the industry that understands same things like me, or by myself. But it's quite good business. It's interesting. It's very intellectual. It's very dynamic. It's thrilling. It's really I cannot get out of that. It doesn't matter in which project I am. It can be in different field, but I'm still monitoring because it's very interesting. All our life, basically today, is fintech.
Yes, I think I understand what you're saying, because a lot of people, I think, in this industry thinks that once you're in, you can't get out because everything else looks a bit too easy. There is no regulation in e-commerce. There is no tech element in other financial services. So it's just a nice combination of both the fin and the tech, which is making it so interesting. And plus, everything is changing all the time, right? The regulator is changing. The requirements are changing. Your company is changing. So you're dealing with different providers with different price points, with the different risks. And it's a never-ending cat and mouse game of how to put everything together, which is limiting the risk and the cost, but getting the most effective outcome for the business. So I completely agree with you on that being in fintech has some kind of magical part. But I think the lack of standardization is allowing people to be still creative when it comes to innovation, when it comes to understanding the regulation in a certain way. And that's how we see an interesting competition between companies of understanding the same task in different ways and having different outcomes for that. And that's why we see all of the different payment methods and all of those different initiatives in various countries. So it's a very, very interesting industry, definitely to keep your eye on and follow it up for later. But what would you do? Would you open again a fintech company knowing everything what you know, or you would just say, no, I stick to e-commerce instead?
I think to make something good in quality, that's a good challenge. And my last actually company was the trigger that my partner was really into smart contracts and all the blockchain technologies and building all in Ethereum. And when I checked what is the smart contract, it got me really excited that something can be written and something can be so legal and so set up from technical side that there is no even little point for a scam. So I got very excited, and my desire to open something, it came from totally technological side. So God knows what's going to be in the future. What it's all about the trigger, open the business. You must really stop sleep at night. It's something that comes to you and you cannot give it up. You just know you need to do it. It's not something that you just wake up in the morning, oh, I think I'll just do some other business. I don't believe in such businesses. I believe that there's always some energy inside of you, some knowledge that just have to blast into something. And then you meet correct people and it's all comes to the correct time. And that's how I believe and how I see it.
That's an interesting question for you. What do you think about crypto? Do you believe that crypto is going to reshape the financial industry, or it was just a phase? Not from the investment perspective. Obviously, I don't really believe in the get rich quick kind of schemes, but as a payment method, as a financial tool, do you think crypto is interesting and it's staying with us, or it had its phase and now we're just only thinking about stable coins and how to digitalize the traditional funds? What do you think?
I think it's a long time that I personally fan of crypto. Not in the personal use, or I had my own personal investment and I did make money, but that's not my point. That's not like I would recommend go invest into crypto. I would look at the crypto as a payment method, definitely have place to be and deserve respect and deserve to be more monitored, but not in the way the old authorities try to do it. Monitored by some new authorities that able to make regulation kind of crypto to lower it and to make it more comfortable for the regular businesses. And we can see how successful Asia with that, and why not? It's just additional payments. Some people was fighting for credit cards back then, was not believing plastic, was saying we don't need it. Like we can use checks and cash. But I think business looks much more attractive when it has option of crypto, not only crypto or like it's just an option. Then everything in this world can be used for the benefit if we know how and when and which amount. So yes, crypto is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of opportunities there, and we definitely need to keep our eyes on crypto as well. You will have a course for us. So you will talk about all of those experiences and all of those opportunities and complexities in the financial industry. But can you tell us a bit more about your upcoming course? What transformation do you want to offer through your course, and how can you approach and empower people to build safer and smarter businesses? Basically, that's the last question that we have. And tell us everything about your upcoming course, please.
Well, I would say this is the educational course for the business owners. It can be also very practical for regular users for their own safety. But in my course, I would definitely touch the topic of organizing the whole system, like splitting your business to the systems, and then see all the aspects, how many, for example, departments you have, and how many different sections of your business, let's say 5, okay? And then from that 5, you take the specialist, and getting back to my example, like building a boat, yeah? And the finances, because we're in a fintech, human factor because we're dealing with people. And I would say I would go for dynamic, a little bit of political dynamic in the world that strictly affect the finances. It gives me quite good background being financial analyst for many years, because you know that numbers always come from a background of some politician issues. So I would say the global educational course that including a little bit of background that we're facing today, which we cannot ignore. The world goes through changes and will continue to go for the next couple of years. And organizing your financial system and organizing your human part.
Thank you. And tell me, is there something that you want to still mention or you want to highlight before we wrap up? Is that something that we haven't talked about, but you think that we definitely should?
No, I think we covered all, and I'm looking forward for a course. And generally, I'm very happy to have another conversation with you, Victoria, and build a very nice fintech network of different professionals. I think it's amazing.
Thank you so much. And I think we can talk for years and years after the camera gets shut down. But I would like to encourage everyone to please join this conversation. Please ask all of those questions that you have. Try to pick our brain to help you how to build a smarter, safer, better, more cost-effective payment and banking rail, and just to really understand that how these payment and banking flows fit and support your organization. So please share all of your real-life experiences, all of those stories that you think that other people can learn from, because that's the only way that together we can create a more transparent and ethical industry, and we can start to put some standards in payments and banking. And thank you so much, Jutta, to be here. It was an absolute pleasure. And tell us where we can find you, and if someone would like to directly send you a message, what's the best way to communicate with you?
At the moment, I'm a little bit on my new project and private development. I'll keep it secret for now. Physically, I'm present in Berlin, and I think maybe in the summer you can also find me in Malta. I have a plan to come and see you, actually.
Nice. Looking forward to that. So yes, please, everybody who is watching us, then please send us all the comments and suggestions. And thank you so much for being us here today. Thank you, and really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who is watching us.